It's really easy to get scared away from probate deals because it's kind of a touchy subject, like somebody's passed away. So yes, there's investors out there looking to take advantage of people, but that's not something you want to be doing. You can actually help people if they're going through a probate type situation. So we want to talk a little bit today about how we can tactfully do that and create win-wins for the family that is and now have that, or the estate owner, and also for you as well. And it's really nice with these probate deals because lots of them are in need of work. If you think of grandma and grandpa's house and it's held together with baling wire and it's still got the green avocado sinks and those types of things, it's a good opportunity for a fix and flip to actually happen. So today, I'm gonna show you how to get probate deals by helping other people solve their problem. That's what we're gonna be talking about today. How to repeatedly find probate deals, okay? That's what we're gonna be covering today. We're gonna cover what is a probate deal and why do I like them. The one amazing referral source you will definitely need to find deals repeatedly, quick turn probate deals into massive profit. Let's just jump into this. What is probate? Okay, probate, somebody passes away, they're deceased. The home is sold through a process handled in a local probate court, okay? This could be because their will said to sell the house, and it didn't say who to sell to, just sell it on the open market, so that may go through a probate, or they didn't have a will. They didn't have any type of a will, so what's happening is the judge is trying to say, hey, what would this person, what would they wanted done? And he's using his best guesses to make that happen, and it goes through a probate process. So let's talk about this process. The executor of the estate will typically find an agent to market and sell the property, okay? The sale is overseen by a probate court, so a judge is looking at that. And there are certain rules that have to be applied when you're dealing with a probate court. So why the need for a probate, okay? Why the need for the probate? Typically because the deceased person did not have a will. That's typically why that's the case. Most people, if you have a will, you appoint an executor. And that executor is the one that's responsible for seeing everything out according to your wishes. Now, if you didn't leave a lot of wishes, the executor is going to have to make some decisions. If you left a lot of wishes, the executor is going to do their best to make that happen. Now, if you didn't have a will and you have a house, then it's going to go through probate, okay? So, who participates in a probate sale? The executors of the estate does, which is only there if there's a will in place. The person of the deceased person, they left someone in charge. That's called the executor of the estate. Also, real estate agents. The real estate agent is hired by the executor of the estate. Probate court, the judge has to determine what's reasonable, what the deceased person would have wanted with what they have left. Those are all things those are all players that are going to be involved in a probate type situation. So one of the questions that you have to ask yourself is, why are probate home prices so low? Okay, probate home prices are typically lower because they need work. They're not in moving condition. You can think of grandma and grandpa's house that's held together with baling wire duct tape, and it's got the avocado yellow tubs, you know, like that's the type of stuff that you're looking at when you're dealing with a probate situation in most cases, or in a lot of cases. Most is maybe a misleading word, in a lot of cases, okay? So the home itself needs to be fixed up. It more than likely can't be lived in its current condition, or it can, but it can't very comfortably. It probably needs some serious updating. These are absolutely perfect deals for real estate investors, and we can do a win-win situation to help somebody out. Now, little pro tip on this, you're not going to get disclosures. So typically when you buy a house, you get seller property condition disclosures, and the seller is required to tell you all about the property, and they answer very specific questions. I think one of the reasons a lot of places do these disclosures is because they don't want to bog down the courts with stupid stuff that's going to tie up time because somebody's trying to withhold some information. So when you are buying a probate deal, you typically are not going to get any disclosures because the person that was living there has now passed on, and nobody can tell you what's going on with the property. So maybe a kid would know a few things, but they're not going to know everything. So you've got to be aware of that. So this is just a little pro tip. You want to make sure you're getting a really good inspection on the property so you know what you're getting, right? If the property has problems, that's okay. I just don't want problems that I don't know about, because if I know what they are, then I can plan for them, I can budget for them, I can get professionals out there. But what I don't want to do is get blindsided, okay? That's what we don't want to be doing. So let's talk a little bit about the buying process, okay? The process is the buyer makes an offer, okay? The executor reviews and approves or counteroffers. Okay, so they can say, I like this, let's sell it for this. Or they can say, no, I'm not gonna sell it for that, we'll counter it this. And then the buyer could say, nope, I'm gonna counter it this. At some point, if they come to a consensus, they're gonna sign it, but they're gonna sign it subject to the approval of the probate court, which basically means, hey, if the probate court doesn't approve it, we're not gonna do it. If they approve it, we'll go ahead and move forward. Now, think of this. The court is saying, don't just come ask me to approve something, bring me a real offer, one that you think makes a lot of sense, bring it to me, submit it to me, and then I can make a ruling of the, yeah, let's move forward with this, or no, I don't think this makes sense. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't really understand. So the purchase contract actually gets submitted to the probate court, and the probate court is going to approve it or going to deny that sale being approved or denied. Let's talk a little bit about time frame. It really depends on your state. It depends on your state laws, and it can be anywhere from 30 days to 3 years. And yes, I said 3 years. Put that in perspective, the average time to sell a house is around 30 days. So you're talking a long time that you can be in these. These are a marathon, they are not a sprint. We're gonna talk more about that here in just a little bit. But how do you actually buy these probate deals? How can you actually get these probate deals, okay? Well, first, you've gotta have this right mindset. I talked about it. It's a long process. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and there are lots of potential pitfalls. So it's not over until you actually own the property, and a lot of things can go wrong in between those, which is good and bad. The good part of that is you have less competition. Inherently, the harder something is to do, the fewer people that will be doing it. And the fewer people that will be doing it over an extended period of time. So that's a good thing. You could call that a barrier of entry, or you could call that being more difficult on a disciplinary process to actually get there. So that's what we're talking about, okay? So that's part of this. The other part of this is you've got to be prepared for things that are unexpected and things that are going to be happening. So you don't want to fall in love with the property, fall in love with the deal, or think that you're going to make a big paycheck on these, because you really don't know. There can be problems along the way. So there's a lot to learn as you go through this process, and you're going to learn different things in different states, right? Some states may say this, some states may say that. You've got to understand what those things are and what you should be doing. Okay. So the ways to get probate deals, how can you go out there and actually find probate deals? What could you do today to go find some probate deals? Well, let's talk about that. There's a few ways you can find some probate deals, and we're gonna go through each one of them right now. Okay, first one is experienced agent that it does probates. There's real estate agents, and then there's probate real estate agents. These guys know how it works, what happens, how it's done. So looking for that can be a really big thing. You can find out from the probate court. I'll talk a little bit more about all these in a minute. Local newspapers, we're going to talk about that, private auctions, and we are also going to be talking about estate sales. So experienced agents, they can look for probate deals. They may have some pocket listings of probate deals. That's one way. The other way is you can go down to the probate court and you can get a list of all recently filed probate cases. So think about this, guys. They filed for probate, but they haven't found a buyer yet for the property. If it was recently filed for probate, but they haven't found a buyer for the property yet, that'd be a recently filed. You can get in touch with the executor and say, I'd be interested in buying the property, and then that can get signed and submitted to the court. So this is really early on in the process, is you're getting all recently filed probate cases. You can contact the executor of the state. You can make an offer. You could call the attorney, and the attorney could pass along your information to them. There's a lot of options here. First thing you want to do when you're doing that is just see if it's on the MLS. Is it on Realtor.com? Is it on the MLS? If so, you can go through the agent. If not, you want to go directly through the attorney or through the executor of the estate. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you might have to do some skip traces. You might find that the executor has this address, and you may need to skip trace so you can get the phone number so you can then call that executor. It's going to depend state to state specific, but what I want to teach you is some principles so you know what to do. This is one of my favorites, and a lot of people overlook it, and this is look for estate sales, okay? So typically what happens when somebody passes away, if there's not a will, family members go and say, hey, I'll take this, you'll take this, what's memories, what's the value, that type of thing. And then typically everything else they sell. You know, they have what's called an estate sale where they're selling this, that, or the other. And people come in and they, bargain for it and make a purchase on it. Well, this typically happens before they put the house up for sale, because they don't want everybody going through the house with all this stuff in it. They don't want something being broken. If there's something of value, they actually want to sell it. So that typically happens before they think about selling the property. Well, not before they think about it, but before they list with an agent or do those types of things. This usually happens before that. So if you can find estate sales by driving around or in the newspaper or online where somebody's having an estate sale. Now, there's garage sales and there's estate sales. Estate is like, hey, we're selling everything this guy had. They've passed away. We're selling everything that's left. Come on by. If that's the case, you should be going Saturday morning and looking at those and saying, what are you guys doing with the house? You mind if I take a look at it? Would you be interested in me making an offer on it? That type of thing. And then part of that, you need to make sure that they realize, hey, if I buy your house, you don't have to do any fix-ups. So there's kind of two psychologies of thought here. You've got some sellers that are saying, oh, I want to fix everything up and then I'll sell the property. In most cases, they never get to do that, because if there's a bunch of siblings and they're going to have to put $50,000 into the property, one sibling doesn't want to, the other one doesn't have the money, the one that has the money wants to work it out but is worried about it. Like, that's kind of the scenario you find yourself in. So, that's something to keep in mind, right? So you need to tell them, as the psychology of thought of we're talking about, is one person says, we're going to do all this work and then we'll sell the property. The other psychology of thought is, we are just going to sell the property as is. Most of the time, properties do need to be sold as is. They get the personal effects out and then they sell. Now, one of the things I really like with estate sales, or with anybody for that matter, once they've had the estate sale and they've sold everything that they have, they're still going to have stuff left over. They are. One of the things I can do to help that family out is say, hey, take everything of value and take everything that means something. Sell whatever you can. And whatever's left, I'll take care of it. Just leave it and I'll take care of it. Here's one of the things. It's really hard to go through and throw things away, especially if they were a family members. But it's also, a lot of it can be of no value or of no meaning. And if that's the case, it's easier for me to have my guys throw it in a dumpster and haul it away than have family members have to do that, because it's emotional and it's hard and it's not fun. So that's a service that I can provide that adds value to me purchasing the property, that really helps the family out and makes the process go easier and smoother for them. Another pro tip there, I just wanted to make sure, I want to make sure that we put it out. We talked about attending the house. This is a big thing. You want to make sure you get names and phone numbers. If you take the time to go to an estate sale and you leave without a name, phone number, who's the executor, who's the probate attorney, have they done that, is there a will, you got to find that stuff out. And so those are the types of things you've got to build a relationship. What are you doing? What are you doing with the house? Those types of things. Okay, next let's talk about local auctions. This is not foreclosure auctions. These are local auctions, also known as private auctions. A private auction doesn't mean you can't go to it. A private auction means it's a private company that is conducting the auction. It's not a foreclosure attorney that's conducting the auction. So you want to make sure in these deals you get full title insurance. That's a mistake a lot of people make, is they don't get full title insurance, or it's not offered. That's what you have with a foreclosure sale. No title insurance, you don't get to see the property. Those can be a problem, especially if you're a newer investor. That's something that a deep pocket investor that can take some serious risk is going to do. Okay, make sure you have the right inspections on the property. You need to be able to have time to get inspections, to look at the property and make sure you know what you're getting yourself into.